It is 11 o'clock. Welcome back in on this Wednesday edition of Three Man Front. Pat Landrum, Molly Conrad with you until 2 o'clock. Appreciate Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider joining the program. This is a very special week. It is the third Saturday in October, but every Wednesday we get an opportunity to catch up with the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, brought to you by Craneworks.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Rentalworks, yeah, the big dog's got it.
Crimson Tide Network's Chris Stewart on Three Man Front is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it. The big dog's got it. And now, Chris Stewart.
And Chris joins us on the Higginbotham hotline. Chris, I don't want to jinx anything, but I am curious. This is what they call a cigar game for the University of Alabama. Do you already have a whole humidor full of cigars ready to go, or is this a special situation where you'll go out and maybe purchase one in case of a victory this weekend?
I wouldn't say a full humidor. I would say that I played in a few golf tournaments this summer where they, there's a cigar rep that is there on a hole, and that's part of the deal. They give you a couple of cigars, and let's just say I made sure that the, what do they call them? Those Boveda packs that keep them the right moisture and temperature and all that. I made sure those were fresh and that those were put away. And I was never a Boy Scout, but I do try to be prepared.
Is there a certain standard?
Circumstances.
Is there a certain standard for cigars?
There is. I'm not a connoisseur.
So you can't just roll out there after an Alabama win and with a Tampa Nugget or a Black and Mild
or a Swisher Sweet.
Yeah. Swisher Sweet. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to go that route. No, you have to treat it with the dignity and the respect that it deserves.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've made sure that I've gotten them from good stores in the past. Again, not a connoisseur. When I had all my health stuff about 7 years ago, actually, when I had the stroke, the guy said, you don't fit the profile. Doc said, you don't fit the profile, do you drink? And I said, look, I'll have, bottle of wine every 2 weeks, something like that, spread out over a couple of weeks, bourbon every now and then. He said, nah, that doesn't constitute being a drinker. He said, do you smoke? I said, absolutely. One cigar every third Saturday in October for 12 consecutive years. And as long as Nick Saban's here, I plan on doing that. Now, granted, there was a hiccup and an interruption, but, one a year is good. It's great, actually. But it's more tradition than it is craving a cigar. I will say it's amazing how much better a cigar smells in a stadium when your team wins as opposed to when your team loses.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was hideous for the last 3 years. So but I enjoyed it that year in between and for the 16 in a row prior to all that nonsense. So we're hopefully going to get it back on track this weekend.
Well, before we talk about the Tennessee Vols coming to Bryant-Denny Stadium, I want to go back to Columbia, Missouri last weekend, because I know that a lot of college football fans, they might go, well, it's Missouri. Alabama is just going to absolutely, take care of business early. This is not going to be a ball game, but you got to see this team up close. This is a very good Missouri team. What were your impressions as you walked out of Como?
No, I think they are good. Alabama was the best team they faced. They're going to have they're going to have to test themselves away from home. Look, that's not a big place, and it wasn't full, but it was close and it was loud. About 55,000, but it's now enclosed, even though they haven't finished all the construction work, but it's louder than it's been. And they are a good football team. I think they're indicative of what college football has become. If you're a reserve at a elite program, there's a chance somebody's going to offer you some NIL money to go be a starter somewhere else. If you are a star at a group of 5 or 6, whatever it is, then you're probably going to be, especially if you're a freshman like Ahmad Hardy, you're going to be offered NIL money to go somewhere else and at another level and maybe be the go-to guy. That's what's happened at some places. Missouri's one of them. They have talent. They're well coached. Um, they've got some SEC money to play with, and they spend it. And they're and again, it's not as if Missouri's been terrible for years. They, heck, they went back-to-back years to Atlanta, albeit at a time when Tennessee and Georgia were down and they were in the East. But they've been, and so it's not everybody in the league can say that. And so it's been a program that's kind of fought for respect, but they're certainly worthy of it. And I think all of us tied to Alabama were extremely happy and grateful to get out of there with a W.
Voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, joining us courtesy of Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline. Going back to last Saturday, Chris, in Como, Ty Simpson, the throw that he made to Brooks on the 4th and 8 with about 5.5 to play, those are game winners. And I right when I saw it, watching that from the hotel lobby and watching that game, and I told everyone that is one, if Alabama goes on to win a championship, that is one of those plays that you put in that top 10 of plays that had to happen for Alabama to achieve that success. How surprised have you been at the poise of Ty Simpson?
I'm not shocked. It's been impressive to see how he's gotten better every week. And you're talking about plays that will go down as being huge if you do indeed win the title. That's one of them. But it just pops into my head. There are also some plays that happen before the play, plays that allow the play to happen. The 3rd and 15 pickup, the 3rd and 25, I guess, pickup of around 15 or whatever it was. The check down from Ty to Kevin Riley, where he makes it 4th and 8, and Coach DeBoer says himself, now they've put me in a spot because I've got to decide what to do right here. It's in between. Do we punt it? Do we kick do we try a really long field goal? Do we go for it? And that's what allowed it. So the tough run after the fact by Kevin Riley to make it at least manageable on 4th and 8 was big. And look, I don't want to overhype it, but it's funny. We all talk about Alabama, those of us that remember it, we talk about the goal line stand, okay? The play, Barry Krause and others who were there and deliver the hit on Mike Guman to keep him from getting in the end zone and preserve the national championship from Alabama. But do you remember a play? It was either a snap or two before that. It was Don McNeil riding, I think, Scott Fitzke out of bounds when he hit him on the goal line. That's one of those that's the play before the play. And if indeed things go well, you hang on, you have the season that you alluded to, that check down, even though it, still left you with a 4th and 8, that's a big one, or you never even get an opportunity. You don't even run the risk. You're not going to go for it on 4th and 23 or whatever it was. But that play turned out to be awfully big just to give you a chance at the next one.
Talking to Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, brought to you by Craneworks, joins us every Wednesday on the Higginbotham Hotline. All right, Chris, let's talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. No big surprise. Their offense is lethal. They lead the nation in scoring at 48 points a game. But you saw a lot from the Alabama defense this last week because they took on the nation's #1 leading rusher. They shut him down for just 52 yards. Talk about the defense and the potential of slowing up this very high, potent Tennessee offense.
Yeah, they'll have to be what they've been. And look, they gave up the early score, but how many times did we see that when Kirby Smart was a defensive coordinator at Alabama, or others after he departed and went to Georgia? I can't tell you how many times I did post-game interviews with Coach Saban where he would talk about the fact that, well, the other team came out and ran stuff completely different from what they've run all year. We always catch that. but then the defense settles down. That happened on the opening drive, uh, and not necessarily in terms of the scheme, but in terms of the execution for Missouri. They cut through us like a hot knife through butter and turned it into a very quick touchdown. And you're sitting there going, "Oh man, here we go, one of those days." And then the offense, uh, answers back and evens the score, and it becomes a tie game at the half. Thanks to Alabama again answering the bell and getting it done in the last seconds of quarter number two and taking care of business in the second half, where the defense is fantastic. And I think they'll have to be again. Tennessee with the speed, the ability to throw and run a little bit. They are talented, and I think every game they've scored more than 30 points. You're not going to shut them down entirely, but if you can hold them below what they've been given, what they have been scoring, and find a way to keep yours trending the right direction, then this can still go the way we want it to on Saturday.
And you just broke down a lot of this Tennessee team, at least from the offensive perspective. But this is a team that I saw in person just a few weeks ago, and their defense, for whatever reason, it's just not been up to snuff. I feel like Alabama can explosive play them to death. What are your thoughts on that particular matchup?
I agree, and it's not necessarily Tennessee. I just think that Alabama's got the ability to strike at any time. We saw that Saturday. I referenced the drive at the end of the first half. All the timeouts were gone. You got 90 seconds, and the way Ty was in a rhythm and with the number of weapons that Alabama's got. I mean, whether you're talking wideout or running backs or the tight ends that are all dangerous right now. You got what, 3-4 tight ends you could throw it to, in addition to Cuevas being one of the best ones around. You got legit 6, maybe 7 true threats at wide receiver. It's a really dangerous, deep, explosive offense that Alabama has, and you hope your defense can play at the level they're capable of. But I don't think Alabama's afraid of a track meet with anybody right now. It's as efficient and impressive an offense when Jam Miller, and now when Kevin Riley's able to be the two, and that's not a slight on him. It's just lack of it. He needs a little more time and experience as the lead guy. But man, with Daniel Hill, how about Daniel Hill the other day? Hadn't had a touch in 2 games. Then he gets a couple of carries, and then he makes a really I know it wasn't a long throw, and it may not seem like it was that tough a catch with the chance to put the game away, but it's 4th down. You're backpedaling. You're kind of falling down and still held on to the football, made a great grab, and that iced the football game for you right there. So they've got some depth, but it's best when Jam Miller is there. And I just think the number of weapons and the different ways that Alabama, and I left off the atomic bomb in Caden Proctor that's always available for use.
Very true.
I mean, there's a ton of ways to get you.
No doubt.
Double pass this week. Let's do it.
Punt returner, it could be a lot of things with him.
That's what I want to see. That's like that would be like a Zamboni going down the ice.
It's Billy Bob, man. That's what it was almost like. Billy Bob at the end of Varsity Blues. You got to throw it to him and let him go.
Poor old Billy Bob.
Poor old Billy Bob.
He had all those concussions.
He had to get his CAT scanned. Had to get his CAT scanned. I don't know if you know it or not.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, each and every week, David Upton and the great people at Crane Works, they give us the opportunity to catch up with you and talk a little Alabama football.
Yeah, talked to David this morning, as a matter of fact, friend of all of ours, and we're grateful to him. It allows me to tell your listeners about his company, which is the most trusted name in crane and equipment rental in the Southeast for over 30 years. Crane Works has a fleet of cranes ranging from 2.5 tons to 500. They've also got trained and certified operators making sure the job you need done is done right. They got locations in Birmingham, Nashville, Mobile, and now in Huntsville as well. Hope you'll visit craneworks.com to get more information.
Chris, enjoy the cigar. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Saturday, and we'll talk to you next week.
And I hope so. I don't want to have to keep that thing in the humidor any longer. I'm ready to smoke that one.
Hear you, brother. Have fun this weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Stewart, voice of the Crimson Tide, courtesy of Craneworks on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. Ton of texts that we will get to. A lot to get to. We got Vince Ferrera talking the Tennessee side. He's going to join us at 11:30 as well. It's three-man front on this Wednesday on Jocks.
It is 11:19, 1-800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line. We have been a jam-packed show, as we have been during the football season, but let's get to your text messages because, well, actually, let's get to the phones first, and then we'll do your text messages.
Let's go to Tennessee Rob. Tennessee Rob, how are you? I'm
Tennessee
kidding.
Rob?
I'm kidding. Roll Tide Rob. How are you?
Y'all just call me Tennessee Rob?
I did.
Roll Tide Rob.
Landrum did.
I know that you're very particular about your moniker, your handle.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, here's first of all, I apologize if I did a sideways thing on Monday, but I hadn't texted or called in a while. I just had things just taken off my text. I only have things to say about this. We're going to beat Alabama is going to beat everybody on their schedule until they get to Auburn. And this is a bold prediction right now. The SEC, Sankey, and the referees are going to make sure, because they're at Auburn, that Alabama loses that game. And there's no reason for precautions, because if they win out, because even with a loss to Auburn, they're going to get in the playoffs. Here's my thing. Pat, I don't believe in conspiracies, but it's like I said on my statement on Monday, Auburn has been so used to getting these dead-gum calls that have been called against them over the last couple of years. But the last 20, 25, 30 years, they've gotten all of them.
Okay, so you think that when the Iron Bowl is played inside Jordan-Hare Stadium, there will be an overcompensation by the SEC, and the officials will call bad against Alabama on purpose to make up for that?
No doubt.
But Alabama, under your prediction, they will still make the college football playoff, despite the officiating in the Iron Bowl.
They will win out, even though I don't think any officiating is going towards one team, because they're bad officiating calls in every single daggum game.
But, Rob, you would have to admit that the missed call in the Oklahoma game, that did have some repercussions on the outcome of that game.
Yes,
okay.
I do. And I watched that game. And like I said on Saturday, we're season ticket holders. But yeah, I felt bad for Auburn on that Oklahoma call.
Yeah.
And the calls that were made at Georgia are non-calls. But I think there's a lot more non-calls made, especially with targeting. And I'm not real sure where officiating is going this year, because a couple of years ago it's going to be targeting. They're not calling any of them when they're obviously targeting calls.
Yeah,
and it's all across the conference.
It is. Roll Tide, Rob. Thank you. We appreciate the phone call. Officiating, that continues to be a hot button topic here on the show. I don't know. Is this just one of those years? One of those years where it's unfortunate that you have the Auburn Oklahoma thing under the microscope, then you get a national TV game, and that happens in Auburn, Georgia. I know that there's been other games but nothing seems to be as controversial as those two particular games. It's just one of those one-off years. Like, it was just the officiating's the same. There's nothing that we need to change. I think transparency is something we're asking for.
Well, the one thing in the Oklahoma-Auburn game is that there was a failed rule interpretation. And it's just like if you're an umpire, so many calls in a Major League Baseball or just a baseball rule book, it's a judgment call. Like, you really can't argue a judgment call because it's their judgment. And I suppose that in the Auburn-Georgia game on Saturday night, the reason why you didn't see any type of official statement from the SEC or anybody else is because that was the judgment calls on the field in regards to the play at the goal line and whether Kirby was calling timeout or not. I mean, those are judgment calls.
Yeah.
Those aren't rule interpretations. That was the error that took place, and that's why the SEC owned up to it in Oklahoma.
And I don't think my idea for microchip in football to go across goal line, that wouldn't have helped in that instance. Because in that instance, but we never got clarification.
Was the ball possessed?
Was the ball shuffling in Jackson Arnold's hands / wrist as he was going over the top? We saw where it was jostled loose. But is that where they said, okay, we're going to stick with this call? Or was it, hey, it's just not conclusive, we're going to uphold what the guy called on the field?
So do y'all think, and look, officiating's always been criticized, and it always will be.
Yes,
It's the human
that's
nature.
not going away.
No, it's the human nature of the game. I just wonder, kind of you go back to last year, right? And you had the Georgia-Texas game where there was they called pass interference, but then they took away the penalty, and you had people trashing the field and things.
Yeah.
It feels like since that game, maybe it's gotten to a little bit more of a fever pitch where people are starting to be more aware of, oh, that's blatantly egregious.
Was it Texas, Arizona State? What was the college football playoff game where there was the controversy?
That was Texas.
Yeah, that was Arizona
State.
State, the first game for them. Yeah.
So it happens. There's other teams that are affected. Not by any means saying this is conspiracy. It's just unfortunate, and it looks really bad that it's happened to Auburn twice.
And there's just been some very bad examples for Auburn and other schools recently where you really people start to, I think, pay attention to it more than they have in the past.
Just like I don't think anybody has got it in. I mean, it's a horrible look. I don't think anybody, I know we joke around. I do not think anybody has it in for a particular school in the conference. I really don't. Just like I don't think anybody's going to step foot on the field during the Iron Bowl and overcompensate and all of a sudden give Auburn all these benefits of the doubt, so to speak.
Coach Freeze, this is so-and-so, the SEC. Yeah, we just did a kind of a mid-season review. You guys have gotten screwed on a lot of calls. So we are going to give you some makeup calls.
Yeah.
For one particular game, we're going to give that to you. They're going to be game-changing calls. You get to select the game. Which one? Oh, he's definitely picking the Iron Bowl.
Oh, he'd definitely do that.
Conrad's like, yeah.
Actually, you know what? That Diego Pavia guy's been a real thorn in my side for the
That's
last
the game he
3
picks.
years. Yeah, let's get some officiating in that one.
Again.
When we come back, we will go to Rocky Top. We'll hear from Vince Ferrera from our sister station, the Sports Animal, up in Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll get his thoughts, maybe a prediction on the Alabama-Tennessee game. Third Saturday in October, coming up Saturday at Bryant-Denny.
11:30. Three-man front on this Wednesday. Vince Ferrara from Knoxville is going to be joining us, breaking down Alabama, Tennessee. If you want to watch professional baseball, you want to watch college football, professional football, it doesn't matter. How about our friends at the Finnick, located near Railroad Park? This afternoon, get in there for happy hour. Enjoy an acoustic act there on stage. Then tonight, all the video screens, the big TVs that they have in the state-of-the-art sound system. You can enjoy college football. You can enjoy the NFL all weekend long. They got Red Zone. They got Sunday Ticket, Alabama, Auburn, UAB fans. The big games, they turn up the sound there, and it's a great way to enjoy college football, whatever sport, but enjoy fellowship with friends. They got an outstanding menu, handcrafted cocktails. Check them out. It's the Finnick, located in downtown Birmingham, 1630 2nd Avenue South, near Railroad Park.
So the television ratings from this previous weekend's college football games, Alabama and Mizzou drew 7 million viewers. It peaked at 10.7 million. Obviously, the peak time was right before the supposed kickoff of the Oklahoma-Texas. A lot of those fans were starting to tune in at the back end of the Alabama-Mizzou game as they were getting ready for the Red River rivalry. So as we're sitting here looking at it, you've got Oklahoma and Texas did 8.7 million viewers. Alabama, Mizzou, 7 million. Georgia, Auburn did 6.7 million on prime time on Saturday night. The most interesting part to all this, Landrum, as I kind of dive through these numbers each and every week, is that Ohio State and Illinois outdrew Indiana and Oregon. Now, the Indiana-Oregon game was the game in the Big Ten. And I know Ohio State has more fans in the Big Ten than any other fan base. But for Ohio State and Illinois, an early morning kickoff, it drew 5.9 million, which was not anywhere close to the three SEC games. But Indiana and Oregon had less viewers than Ohio State and Illinois.
I wonder if it's you get the early Big Ten crowd because they're so programmed for that, and then a later game a later game maybe gets lost, and then a lot of those eyeballs are going to the SEC.
Possibly so, but the SEC had the three most viewed games over the weekend, followed then by Ohio State, Illinois, then Indiana, Oregon, and Michigan and USC, which was in prime time on NBC, drew just 4 million people. They had half the audience of Oklahoma and Texas, and Alabama and Mizzou almost doubled up that game.
I think some of it, though, is college football fans and viewing habits and how they've just seen things. I forget that there are games on NBC sometimes.
Yeah.
For college football.
That's understandable. Well, it's a big one this Saturday in Bryant-Denny Stadium for both Alabama and Tennessee. Joining us now from our sister station, the Sports Animal in Knoxville, Tennessee, Vince Ferrara joins us here on the program. Vince, I hope you're doing well on this Wednesday.
I am doing great. Weather's nice. Hope you guys are doing awesome, too.
Are doing very well. It should be a really nice atmosphere, as it always is when these two teams get together. Just from the Tennessee perspective, I know the big tough loss to Georgia to begin SEC play, but just talk about how this team has gotten things on track, especially offensively.
Yeah, it's about surviving and advancing, right? They're getting wins. The offense, which was a question, especially the passing game coming into the season. You didn't know what you were going to get from transfer Joey Aguilar, and the receivers, very inexperienced. 39 total returning receptions from last year between three guys, and all three of them have developed big time and are their three starters. Honestly, they're the only three that play for them, but they're really, really good. And so they've been fantastic in the past game, including in that Georgia game that you referenced. So they passed test offensively. Defensively, they're very different than they were last year. Last year under Tim Banks, and really every year since he's been the DC the whole time under Josh Heupel, statistically they've gotten better each and every season. And they were among the SEC and nation's best last year in a lot of categories. They were great on third down, and they didn't give up a ton of yards or points. They didn't create a lot of turnovers. They didn't get a ton of sacks, but they got the job done and got off the field. And they needed to, because their offense was a big-time struggle overall last year. This year, the defense has taken a step back statistically. They've been banged up. They're starting to get some guys back, but still have their two starting corners out. And they're giving up a ton of passing yards. They're last in the SEC in pass defense, 121st in the nation. They're giving up a ton of points as well. They're giving up third and longs. So that, for them, thankfully, has been offset by being number one in the nation in sacks, number one in turnovers. So they're kind of they're getting into some shootouts against what is deemed lesser competition since Georgia, but they're getting key plays at key times and game-changing types of plays. So it's a little difficult, I think, for fans to fully digest what this team is at this point, because the offense has been outstanding. The defense hasn't lived up to expectations, but you're still winning games and you still have everything in front of you. So that's kind of where they sit going into this Alabama game.
Vince, you mentioned the takeaways in the sacks and how they've been able to kind of compensate for a porous pass defense at times. For this Alabama team, this Alabama offense, based on what you've seen, what vulnerabilities could you possibly attack if you're Tennessee defensively at Bryant-Denny on Saturday?
Well, it's the wrong team to struggle in pass defense, right?
Yep.
the way Ty Simpson's playing, and the trio, those first three receivers, and they have other threats in the pass game too. So, the long shot hope would be to get elite corner Jermon McCoy back. Now, I don't think he's on track to do so. It might still be another week or two for him. He injured himself training in January, tore his ACL, and even though he's done some individual stuff, haven't seen him yet in team stuff. So, man, if they got him back, I think Tim Banks would be a little bit more willing to really heat up Ty Simpson and do more and be able to do more in coverage, because they can then leave McCoy and then Colton Hood, who's been fantastic at another corner, trust them to be out in coverage more or do more on the back end in this game in pass defense. But it give them a lot more options. But without that being the case, they have to clean up their communication. They play some man, some zone. I know there's the Jeremy Bernard comments that are out there about him saying that, it's a field of dreams. But he was talking about man coverage. He wasn't necessarily talking about, Tennessee's not good in pass defense. So I think they got to mix up the looks for Simpson. They got to get home. They can't run past Ty Simpson and trying to get after the quarterback. And he has, as you guys know, he has mobility, escapability as well. So they got to tackle better. They got to communicate better. And then you have to hope that you keep Alabama one-dimensional. Now, Alabama, a lot of it depends on Jam Miller's status, but they've been able to kind of overcome that anyway because they've been so good at not turning the ball over, not committing the penalties, which have been an issue, in the past and certainly have been for Tennessee. And then, obviously, being so good in the pass game, you can overcome it there as well. So those would be the things they feel like they're things that they can clean up on the back end with pass defense. They have a first-year starter at safety. They have a true freshman in Ty Redmond, who's in there for Ricky Gibson, who also was hurt in game one. So, we'll see if they can clean those things up. But, man, it is difficult against that elite of a pass game that Alabama brings to the table.
Vince, let's talk about I know we were talking about the back end of the defense, but I have been impressed because Tennessee's gotten 26 sacks, which is one of the best teams in the country. I mean, they've been able to get penetration so they can disrupt Ty Simpson potentially. But on the offensive line, they're doing just like what the defensive line is doing in regards to getting sacks. The offensive line is yielding only, 4 total sacks the entire season. They're keeping Aguilar pretty clean. Is that because he's getting the ball out so quick, or is the fact that this is one of the best offensive lines in college football?
Well, they've outperformed what I think people's expectations for them would be, and they've done it largely without their 5-star right tackle in David Sanders Jr. that everybody wanted and went to Tennessee, and he was slated to start game one at right tackle, And so they had to move some pieces around because he got hurt the Wednesday before that opener and just debuted for the first time in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State a few weeks ago. So played a little bit more against Arkansas. I imagine at some point they're going to start him, but they're still kind of ramping him up. I think it would be a surprise if they did it this week. They have Kentucky next week, so maybe that's when you do it. But despite them moving some pieces around, they've still been very good, very clean. Lance Hurd, the former LSU tackle, he struggled last year at left tackle. Man, it's been quiet on that side, which tells you he's been outstanding. And they've been really good across the board. Sam Pendleton is a Notre Dame transfer at center. Wendell Moy Jr. is a transfer from Arizona. He's nasty. He's been really good. So they have been very, very good on that O-line. And Aguilar has had some times. He'll take some deep shots. But Aguilar deserves a lot of credit for that, too. He's not a frequent runner, but he's pretty good with feel in the pocket, and he will tuck it and run some. He did a little bit more last week. And then, look, when you have a good run game, then it can keep teams off balance in trying to get after Aguilar. And those guys have done a good job in pass pro when teams have sent blitzes overall. So the deep threat helps them in keeping those defenders and those pass rushers off of him because they can throw it up deep to any one of their three receivers that have all caught long touchdowns, including Brazel, who, had a quiet game against Arkansas, but has been, pretty unstoppable in the other games for Tennessee this year.
Vince, what does this game flow need to look like for Tennessee to either be in the game late in the fourth quarter or come out with a win?
It's a great question, and the perception would be that Tennessee wants to go up and down and tempo like crazy, and Alabama wants to slow it down, right? Reputation would tell you that that's what those teams want to do. But Tennessee is a little bit different. I think they're parallel to Ole Miss in how they've run their offenses. Like the year in 2022 when it was breakneck speed, it was Tennessee and Ole Miss. Tempo, 1 and 2, and how quickly they got plays off. Then the last couple of years, both of them have kind of slowed down just a little bit. And not saying Tennessee is slow. They still use their tempo, but it depends a lot of times on the situation, what their defense has gone through, how long they were on the field in the prior possession, and then what their previous play, how successful that was. If they get 9 yards on first down, they're going and they're getting on the line. So they use it as a more selective weapon as opposed to down in, down out. So I think Tennessee will want to keep it maybe a little bit more upbeat than Alabama in terms of the pace, but not necessarily. I think it just kind of Josh Heupel's sort of adapting to how the game plays out and how much he dials it up or dials it back. And we saw Alabama, play keep away a little bit with Missouri, and Missouri wants a lot of plays and tempo and that kind of stuff. And Alabama was kind of, able to have some success there. So generally it's that, but I do think both have some flexibility because not only have they played different ways this year, but both offenses have explosive playability where, hey, you can get off the field in a couple of plays.
All right, Vince, you don't have to give us a prediction unless you would like, but obviously 8-point favorite for Alabama against Tennessee. You believe this is going to be a fourth quarter game, or how do you think this one's going to end up at Bryant-Denny?
I do think it's going to be a close game. And look, the SEC tells you that. I think these two teams, there's been bigger gaps between teams in the Southeastern Conference on paper that have been close than these two. And so despite the history there in Tuscaloosa, I know what it is since 2003, I do think Tennessee is in a better position with the type of team they had. I mentioned the tempo. When Tennessee was running nothing but tempo, when they would get into hostile environments like at Bryant-Denny, like at Georgia, and some of these other, even Florida, because of the rivalry, if they had a bad play or a penalty or negative play and get behind the sticks, and they'd have to slow down their tempo, there'd be panic and they wouldn't be able to function really well because they were so dependent on the tempo to beat teams defensively. Where right now they're more well-rounded. They adapted and adjusted the offense to where they do different things. They don't just depend on the tempo. That's one part of it. And part two is they have a more veteran, experienced quarterback that's very poised and shakes off any mistakes he makes. So I think that at the very least will keep it closer than maybe we've seen it kind of get away from Tennessee at times when things don't go well. So I do think it'll be a close game, and man, the drama with these two that they provided, especially in recent years in Knoxville, they could very well see the same thing there Saturday night.
Vince, you going to make the trip?
I am not, unfortunately. I have Sunday morning radio, have Friday night radio with high school football. Night game makes it tough. I love going down there, an amazing venue and everything, and so I spent time there for sure. So we'll miss seeing friends, but yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to come down.
If Tennessee does pull off the win, will you smoke a cigar wherever you are?
I will not, because I've never smoked anything, honestly.
Oh, that's good.
Cigar, cigarette, anything else, fill in the blank. So yeah, there's plenty. I'll get secondhand smoke. There's no doubt about it from everyone else.
Vince, thank you so much for taking time. Always a pleasure.
All right, always great to talk to you guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Vince Ferrera joining us, talking Alabama and Tennessee on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
I was in my backyard the other day, and I was looking around, and one of my red oaks, not looking too healthy. You might need to call Golston Tree Service. You need to do that, too, if you see a dangerous tree leaning over your house. Golston Tree Service at 205-337-4443. They can help you today. Golston's licensed pros, they handle everything from trimming and pruning to full tree removals, fast, safe, and affordable. Don't wait until that next storm causes damage on your property or on your house or your car in the driveway. Call Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4443. Don't forget about Golston's 24-hour emergency tree service. So when it comes to your trees, don't risk it. Call Golston Tree Service at 205-337-4443.
As promised, we will get to your text. A ton of text on the text line. Three-Man Front continues, the Hump Day edition on Jocks.
The third Saturday in October. We will have some more little fun ditties as we roll on this third week of September or October. Sorry, September, October, November, whatever it is.
Tennessee orange is listed as a vibrant, bold orange color, and it's. Have we done this before?
Yes.
What shade is?
Remember,
that?
it was a Pat Ponders question. We compared all four of the oranges in the SEC.
Oh yeah, which orange was best?
Where is this orange for you? Because that's your favorite color.
Taking all jokes aside, I'm not. It's okay. It's a little too bright for me.
Do you like the Florida sunburst orange? You like that one better than the burnt orange of Texas or the brick orange of Auburn?
I think Florida and Auburn's oranges are the two best. I like Tennessee's orange. Texas has the worst orange. Burnt orange, not a fan of that. It might as well be poop brown.
Really?
Yeah, not a fan. So I would say Tennessee is ahead of Texas, but behind Auburn and Florida.
Okay.
I don't like the burnt orange. Not a fan.
Really? Text line is open, 205-834-9450. Thanks for the ear assault with Rocky Slop. I think I'm going to go puke out my lunch. Glad we could help.
Hope
Thanks
it's
for
puke
listening.
orange.
Rob getting some reaction. Thank you, Roll Tide Rob. We appreciate it. Somebody says USF coach is the best fit for the Florida job. Alex Golish. Did not hear him from Brian Edwards.
Did you see yesterday where he had like a 5-minute answer in his press conference when asked about, I mean, he was just rambling on and on about if he would, coaching vacancies, and reminded me of the Brian Harsin days. Are people disappointing
Love
you?
your show, but occasionally you guys digress into salty mode. We get salty, especially Pat.
Do I? Do I get salty, Conrad?
Yes.
When do I get salty? Just tell me. When
Tell
do I
him
get
when.
salty?
Tell him when, Conrad.
Yeah. You got an answer? Tell me.
Do we have a mirror we can put in front of Pat right now?
Someone is asking, was Buck Blue trying to sound like a 1920s baseball game broadcaster? A little transatlantic.
Grandma hit the short. Long throw.
Kirby Smart was not trying to call a timeout. That was simply the way we clapped in the 20s.
That's actually a really good impression of that.
I'm going to head over to the speakeasy a little bit later on. Oh, so many texts. So many of these are offensive, and we were going to read.
They're offensive, and we're going to read.
Our number three-man front next.